Ladies and gentlemen, Texas is so desperate for substitute teachers, they are turning to parents. In the beginning of the school year, I did a video on the bus driver shortage, and they were asking parents to drive the buses. And I guess it just didn't work out because I don't see a single school bus on a regular basis anymore. So Texas is not alone. When I went out there looking, there are many states that are now turning to parents to come into the schools and sit in these classrooms with students. They don't care if they're not certified, they don't care. They are just desperate. Okay, so when the staff thinned out to dire levels, this is when the head of the school, the principal, and the school district were sending out robocalls soliciting parents to be substitute teachers. Mm-mm-mm. So, this also not only occurred in Texas, it also occurred in Eagan, Minnesota. Woodland Elementary School were also trying to recruit parents to come in as substitutes. Mm-mm-mm. So, whether this will work out, who knows? I mean, the school bus thing definitely did not work. Woodland principal Lisa Carlson said she thought of the idea to send calls to all school families after coming up with a short of substitutes. Since the call went out last year, some parents have stepped up to try to help. A number of schools across the country are facing severe teacher shortages, are sending unprecedented call outs to parents asking them to apply to be substitute teachers. But while the move might be a good quick fix to keep schools open for now, education experts say this model should not be used as a long term solution for teacher shortages. Schools in Idaho, Colorado, Texas, California, and Massachusetts facing massive educator and substitute shortages have all dipped into parent pools over the last year to find candidates. Substitute shortages had long preceded the pandemic, with schools struggling to retain quality candidates. But with recent labor losses in the field across the spectrum and a surge in infections, an already dire situation has been exacerbated, according to a report by RAND Corp, a nonprofit research organization that examines school district leaders' views about staffing at the end of 2020-2021 school year. As many as 8 in 10 wanted to increase the number of substitute teachers, and 6 in 10 are still working to do so. But while parents stepping in as substitute teachers may work out well for some, it should still be viewed as a short term fix, said Michael Hansen, a senior fellow in the Brown Center on Education Policy at the Brookings Institute. I think there's a lot of things that can be justified in the service of trying to meet a public health emergency and keeping schools operational. I would say that's more important than the quality of the substitute teacher standing in front of the class for a few weeks. What last year showed us is that it's pretty critical to have students. What they're saying is critical to have in-person classes, but the problem is, everybody is getting sick, and a lot of these schools are shut down, and it's an awful lot of children that are doing virtual learning right now in the nation. And I really truly believe that number is going to grow. Okay, so let's say you got a shortage of substitute teachers. Okay, so what happens when these sit in parents come and they get sick? What then? You know, wow. It's definitely an act of desperation. And I don't know, from what it sounds like, y'all, I don't think too many parents are stepping up. I'm just kind of gathering that. Okay, the nation is in a pandemic, and reaching out to parents gives schools a deeper bench to work with as substitute teachers rank growing thin. It's a friendly pool and a pool that is more interested and invested in the school. Hansen fears the emergency measures could become permanent in schools that have struggled to keep teachers. A typical school over the course of a year is probably going to need more manpower than what parents can provide. And most schools would not be able to rely exclusively on the pool if it comes to that. It's not necessarily problematic for the children's experience, but it's a much bigger warning flag about our ability as a society, as a school system, to ensure that we're really bringing talented people into the classrooms, both regular teachers and as substitute teachers. So, I mean, do a lot of these parents even meet the requirements to be a substitute teacher? And I'm just wondering, how are these kids getting educations with sit ins, just sitting there in the room? Because, I even saw these stories about staff, people that just work as staff up at the school and they are sitting in on these classrooms. So, what kind of education are they really getting if you got all of these shortages going on? And how is it better for them to have a parent sitting there and not a real educator sitting in the classroom? How are they benefiting from that? I'm just saying. You know, it's just like, remember in the beginning of the year, they were talking about getting the military to drive the school buses. Well, I tell you what, that must have fell through, because I know I'm not alone when I tell y'all I don't see these school buses out here. Okay. All right. So, in a school district, an independent school district, public school district with more than 20,000 students in Kyle, Texas, the substitute teacher pool usually stands at 500, but the roster has now fallen to 300. Mm-mm-mm. And this week, the school district had 292 requests for substitutes. Normally, the school district requires substitute teachers to have 30 hours of college credits, but it is utilizing a provision that has never been used before to bypass that. This provision, that if a principal makes a recommendation for someone to be a substitute, then we can waive the 30-hour of college credit. And so we thought, well, our principal know all of the parents, so let's see if we can tap into that pool and maybe get some parents. And if they don't happen to have a college requirement, so if they don't meet the college requirement, which many of them won't, then we can waive that right now. The school district has also raised the daily pay rate to further encourage parent participation. Since the school sent an email to parents asking them to apply last week, only three have signed up, but every little bit helps during an emergency. Candidates will still be required to go through appropriate background checks. He added that the school district will go back to its normal standards and requirements once it has passed this critical period. You're not going to pass this critical period. You're going to be in this critical period when you attempt to open schools in fall of 2022. It's going to be right there, smack dab in your face. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about these different states approaching parents now to sit in these classes? Not necessarily teach the kids anything, but just be a sit in during in person class. So, again, if they're not getting a lesson from these parents that are going to be sitting in, then how are they benefiting from in person classes? And I have read some of the responses from students. Some of these students said they are literally just sitting there doing nothing because they don't have enough people, or they'll have one person running between 2, 3 rooms all day. I mean, this is ridiculous for real. And I just, like I said, I see a bunch of these schools closing when we get into February as well. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.